Hi everyone and welcome back to the garden. My name's Diane and I garden here in the northeast of England. It's eventually stopped raining after weeks and weeks of rain, so I thought I would take the opportunity, get out in the garden and just give you a little garden tour. So I do hope you enjoy it. So this is the Crocosmia lucifer, which is on the corner of the border outside the wall of my house. So really delighted with this. This is southwest facing, full sun, tiny little narrow border, probably at this point about, I don't know, what would that be, about 18 inches deep. But I think that's the best this year that Crocosmia has ever been. And we're getting new pavements laid. That's what all the barriers are for. And these barriers, when they were doing this bit of the pavement here, the barriers had pushed the Crocosmia right up against the wall. But yeah, I think that's gorgeous. So this is the front border of my house. Right, so we'll go into the garden now. So this is the small front garden, and I'm really pleased with this border. It's a really nice sunny border, and it used to be a couple of years ago I used to have a huge buddleia growing up here. It was massive, took over the whole garden, so I took that out last year, early last year, and planted up just a selection of all types of plants. So again, the Crocosmia here, all down here, this is going to be gorgeous. These are the heads before they open. And then we've got loosestrife, we've got lots of Amimagus just spilling in amongst the plants. Just gives a nice little pop of white relief there. This tall plant here is Veronicastum. I grew that from seed years ago. I've got another patch there. And then I've got Alstroemeria. So I've got a patch there. Some nice deep red Alstroemeria here, which I've just been gifted from my daughter's neighbour. And then some more Alstroemeria at the back there. And the way you keep Alstroemeria going, and it'll go all summer long, is if you can see, this is what the stems look like when they've finished flowering. And what you do is you just get a hold of the stem and pull. It makes a very satisfying pop, and it comes right out at the bottom. So don't cut the dead stems back, pull them out, and I can guarantee you that will keep this plant flowering well into autumn. So that's what the dead stems look like. Well, the finished stems. What else have we got? We've got some very pretty Achillea. This has been a beautiful Johnson's blue geranium. It's been gorgeous. We've got some loosestrife there. And then down here we've got a lovely sort of mauvey coloured Astrantia. I have got rose bay willow herb at the back there that I haven't been able to get to and pull out, but I don't mind a little bit here and there. And then in this border here, this border is just sort of a work in progress. So we've got Crocosmia lucifer, we've got two different types of phlox, which is going to be beautiful. The Amimagus, some oxeye daisy. This is the spirea that I cut back really hard earlier this year. And then we've got quite a few bare patches down here. This has been a big clump of early flowering hardy geranium, which I've cut right back, and that will all sprout back again. That's what it looks like when you cut it back. And this is it starting to grow again. So that will fill that area in. But I wanted to open the area up to plant more foxgloves. Right, so now we're going to the main garden. Oh, I'll show you my little alpine tub here. He's doing really well. All of them are flowering. They look sort of otherworldly, don't they? The quick weed. Always get Linaria growing in my garden. I've got so much of it. Just pull that out, otherwise it will take over. It just self-seeds around. There we go. So up here is the new woodland garden that I'm developing this year. And this is the path I laid. And we've got some kind of little animal has dug a tunnel down there. So this was all hugely overgrown. I'll put the link to the video where I sort of developed this earlier this year. This was all overgrown with ivy. And the lilac trees here were spilling right over. You just couldn't get through this area. So I've cut the lilac trees back on the garden side, dug all the ivy out and planted up with beautiful foxgloves. You can see how big these foxgloves are grown. These are going to be stunning next year. And we've got hellebores, because this border is always deep shade. So we've got loads of primroses that I've planted. This is the end of the feverfew. So I'm really delighted with this. And then the gravel path going through. So in the woodland garden here, this is an aster, a Michaelmas daisy. That's beautiful. This is a really tall helenium. We've got a sedum there, ice plant, a beautiful rose that I rescued out of one of my other borders. I've just noticed a nice bit of Veronicastum growing there. Crocosmia. There's one lone lupin. I've had lots of lupins in here. Again, all of these I grew from seed. And then this plant here is Japanese anemone, which you really, it's beautiful, but you have to keep an eye on it because it can take over. So I do need to get in here at some point and cut the lupins back. Not sure whether they'll come back next year. I hope they will. Got lots of seed heads on them, so they should just sort of self-seed. And then if you can sort of see all over, I've got that Amimagus, which I grew from seed. And it's sort of, it was all sown at the same time, but some of it has flopped over into the borders, and then it just sort of grows low down. And others that are supported by this one, this Ami here is supported by this big rhododendron. So he's really tall. He must be about 7 foot tall. Just gorgeous. And you can imagine how dark and just quite boring that section there would be if I hadn't planted the Amimagus. And then we come round here. This is where my composting bins are and my new cold frames. So that's my cold frame, one of them anyway. And these are little white foxgloves in here. See, this Amimagus has grown into the cold frame. We'll rescue him. And we come. That's it. And I've planted antirrhinums around here. And then all the heuchera that I split, I've just sort of popped a bit of heuchera in each of these little sort of tooth-shaped bits, and by next year they'll be gorgeous. The wallflowers that I planted here are doing really well. And then I've got lots of heuchera babies in here. So I'm just looking around the garden for a sort of border where I'll have a heuchera border. And then I've planted wallflowers all the way up here. This is that lovely Astrantia again. Really pretty. Nice heuchera down there and some London Pride. I haven't actually got round to sort of weeding this area. Got a miscanthus grass there. Some Crocosmia lucifer, which I didn't plant him at the front of the border, but he's doing really well. Oxeye daisy, I think that tall one there is just a weed. Let's see if I can zoom in on it. But he's really pretty zingy yellow, so he's very welcome. Some Alstroemeria here. The end of a lupin. I've had some beautiful big tall delphiniums at the back there. The hydrangeas have done really well this year. I think it's because we've had so much rain. And then I weeded this area the other day and opened up new patches of soil. So I've planted out a lot of anthrarinums. They look really tiny and delicate there, but I'm sure they'll bush out and be fine. This plant here is Monarda. It's gorgeous. I am a bit concerned about how small the Monarda is this year, and I think it is because the roots are being swamped out by this Persicaria here, which is, the leaves just look like weeds, but it gets a tiny little sort of pink rabbit tail flower on. It's beautiful, but it's very invasive, so I think I'll have to take some of that out. And also the Japanese anemone there. So these, again, these gnarly leaves here belong to the Japanese anemone, so I'll be taking some of that out. And then here we've got some beautiful phlox. When I did the Chelsea chop, I sort of do it at all different levels so it doesn't look too sort of linear and chopped. So this is one that I obviously haven't chopped back. He's flowering first. Others are right down here and they'll flower in a few weeks' time. And it just extends that flowering season. That's another phlox here that's going to flower, and a later flowering hydrangea there. And then look at this Amimajus, that's just flopping forward here. It's beautiful. I need to put some water in the bird bath. This is my hydrangea Annabelle here. See how she does this year. And a Michaelmas daisy at the back. A lovely heuchera here. And then this great big patch here, I think it's Helenium. It gets a big yellow flower on it. It's beautiful. But you can see the size that that's grown. So when that has finished this year, I'm going to chop that up and disperse that round the garden. So I've just got that continuation. Loving the fact that I've painted the bird table black. He used to be green and he used to be in this area, but it always looked a bit congested because I would have all the bird feeders there and the bird bath and then the bird table as well. Whereas putting him out there, they still use him, but he's sort of, it just sort of showcases him, makes a feature of him. Absolutely delighted with this geranium here. So this geranium was a real bargain find. So I think I bought 3 or 4 of them in a bargain corner of a local garden centre last year. So this is what they're called. It's geranium azure skies. Should have been £8 each, and I got them for £2 each. In fact, if memory serves me right, I think I actually got them for £1 each when I got to the till. And I can remember they had no flowers on them. They were just very sort of straggly leaves in a pot. But it's worth taking a punt when they're that cheap, when plants are that cheap, because what have you got to lose? I mean, what can you buy for £2 nowadays? And I think so that's probably one of them, and then that's probably another one there. And they will last all summer. When they're finished, I'll cut them back down, and they'll probably come back again. Show you the leaf. It's really tall, and planted them out, and I thought, oh, they're getting very leggy, and they're a leggy geranium. You can see the stem there, but look at the show they give. That beautiful blue against the sort of orangey pink alstroemeria there. Loving that. And then down here is the Rebecca, the black-eyed Susan that I transplanted from the back garden when I was making developing the white garden last year. So that's going to look gorgeous. Right, and then in this part of the border here, a big gap here is a thalictrum, just the stumps there. So I've chopped him right back because he's finished now. And I've planted out some more foxgloves that have grown from seed. They'll come up next year. And then I've filled in the gap around the plant, where the thalictrum was, with antirrhinums. Then I've got a bit of Cosmea lucifer on the edge. And then this hydrangea here. And I think this is the best he has ever been. Again, clues in the name, isn't it? They love water, and it's never stopped raining here in England for weeks. I've never had as many heads on this hydrangea. Absolutely beautiful. Sort of lime green and pink when they're very new, and then they turn this beautiful baby pink. Oh, it's gorgeous. And again, I've got the Amimagus growing in amongst it, and then the loosestrife and the Linaria there. And then this is a beautiful big Cosmea lucifer, which is just coming into flower, and that is in the wooden frame that my husband made me. I'll put a link to that, the plant support video. And again, just Amy just spilling over the top of this peony, which finished flowering weeks ago. And you can't cut the leaves of peonies back because you have to let them die off naturally. So by the autumn, I'll be able to cut him back. But it usually means that you've got these big patches of green foliage with no relief, and something like the Amimagus there, and there's that lovely mauve geranium again, and it just sort of adds a bit of relief to the green. This is another area that I weeded out the other day, so I've put some cosmos, some Gora that I'm trying to grow, grown that from seed, and antirrhinums in there. Not sure what this one is going to be. Can't remember, and I haven't got a plant label on it. This is the end of the Sweet William. That's been absolutely lovely. Nice tall one. This is a big phlox here. with some Lucifer growing in it. And then at the front of the border here down low, I've got Alstroemeria, I've got Nepeta, which that's finishing flowering now. So what I do is I'll chop that right back in the next couple of days, and that will come back and flower again. Got some Japanese anemone at the front, which I keep a strict eye on. I don't let it grow any bigger than this, otherwise it would take over the whole border. I've just been cutting back these geraniums, but that's a lovely little one there. So when he's finished, I'll chop this right back and he will flush out again. And then this is another one here. And then a lovely little pink one here. See? Just really pretty. And then I've got this lovely clematis, which is growing around my water barrel, and then we've put mesh all the way up there, so the clematis has grown right at the top there, so that's pretty. This is beautiful. When he flowers, I'll come back and show you. So this is Persicaria Fats Domino. It's one of my favorite Persicarias. He's been in here for years, so he doesn't seem to be too invasive. And these haven't opened yet, but they're just the brightest lipstick pink. Oh, it's beautiful, with some red Crocosmia lucifer in amongst it, and loosestrife, and Linaria, and the geranium there. More Ami Majus there. The loosestrife is beautiful, this yellow. Again, this is one you have to really keep an eye on, but it's very easy to dig out. This is a Shasta Daisy and some Sweet William there. And then here we've got more of that beautiful tall geranium mingling in with the yellow loosestrife. It's just gorgeous. And then over here, I mean, mainly the white here is that Ami Majus. So he's fallen forward, and he must be about 18 inches, 2 foot off the ground. Whereas if he had been supported by something, as this one has, or if I'd tied him to that frame there, he would be really tall. But actually I love him in the border there. And then I've got more Alstroemeria, a deep red one there, mixed in. Cosmea lucifer at the back, and Oxide Daisy here. And then down to a sort of apricot coloured Alstroemeria. Again, there's a dead head, so just pull gently right out by the stem. And then I've got this beautiful Buddleia. Gorgeous, isn't he? It's that sort of a cerise colour. And I've got the heads of my Jerusalem sage, which flowered for the first time this year. So I'm delighted with that, because for about the last 3 or 4 years I've always had the leaves and no flowers. And then down here at the front I've got my patches of daylilies, which I bought and planted out last year. I planted 3 in this area, but only 2 have survived there, whereas down here all 3 have survived. So someone was asking about the Amimagus and how I grow it. And I was saying that I think you could just sprinkle the seeds in the borders, but you've seen my borders, they're so overstocked that I think the Amimagus might struggle to germinate. So I always start my Amimagus off indoors in the autumn to get an early start. And then I prick it out when it's tall enough into 9 centimeter pots, and it continues to grow on until it's about 2-3 inches tall. Again, I'll put a link to the winter greenhouse video. It'll grow on in the 9 centimeter pots, and then it just stops growing and it stays dormant, but healthy all over the winter, and then I plant it out in the spring. So I'll show you the Amimagus. So this is Amimagus that is growing in shade. See how tall it is there. I'll come up here. So this is a white clematis, very beautiful, but obviously finished flowering months ago. So if it wasn't for the Amimagus, this again would be just an obelisk with some green foliage on. But I plant Amimagus at the bottom of it and then just sort of pin it to the obelisk, and it uses it as a support. And then I've got Amimagus here just spilling through the railings. You can see how it sort of goes from the bottom and then it's just growing up here. So if you're the type of gardener that doesn't like things flopping about, then Amimagus is probably not for you, but I absolutely love it, and it seems that lots of my viewers love it as well. Oh, that is a gorgeous white hydrangea. Isn't that beautiful? Love this border. And in the summer, these are all covered in pink Sarah Bernhardt peonies. But obviously when they're finished flowering, this border would be very green if it weren't for the Amimagus. And then I've got a lovely climbing apricot rose there, trying to sort of get in. Again, I support it on the obelisk. So that's full of buds. You'll see that better in next month's garden tour. And then I've got a clematis growing up the back there with more Amimagus pinned to it. And then when I've weeded down here, I've planted out, this is Verbena bonariensis and lots of antirrhinums there. So that little section will get filled in. Right, I'll show you what some Amimagus looks like that's grown in full sun. So this is my white garden at the back of the house. I'll put a link to that video. So this is Amimagus grown in free draining soil in full sun. Isn't that stunning? And I've got more here in amongst my white hydrangeas. And the pollinators just love it because they just sort of land on these umbel shaped flowers. They expend no energy and just sit there and collect their pollen. And I have it pinned to trellis there. That one's pinned to a wire. So I'll not spend too much time in the white garden because I have just put a video out on that. But again, the Amimagus has been brilliant at just giving a sort of sense of maturity to the garden here, because it's an annual, so it just grows so quickly, whereas the perennials are a bit slower to develop. And then in front of the conservatory, plants here, lovely fuchsias, nemesis, just bought a nice white lily there, bacopa, a beautiful white geranium there, and some angel wings. And then down here I've got some Dusty Miller, some Brunnera, box. So yeah, the hydrangeas are brilliant this year. It's a lovely dark purple one. And then I've got this lovely deep red one, gorgeous. I bought these about 3 years ago. I think I paid £10 each for them. And I thought that they would just revert to pink, but they haven't. They've stayed the colour they were when I bought them, so reds and purples, so I'm delighted with them. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. I do hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you like the flowers that I'm growing. There's obviously a lot more to come into bloom, probably over the next week or two if the weather keeps nice. So I would love it if you came back and watched my subsequent videos. But until then, I'll say goodbye and see you next time. Bye.